Friends, let's start off with graph 3, share of sector in employment. In this previous class, I have just told you people that is a share of GDP in all the three sector. So we have concluded that when we are compared with all the three sector, the sharing of GDP is higher in tertiary sector. So tertiary sector sharing of GDP is very higher. Now we'll just move with the third one, graph 3, share of sectors in employment. Now we are going to look at with the share of sectors in the employment. Yes, now the similar shift has not taken place in employment because graph 3 shown that the share of employment in the three sector is I mentioned about 1973. In 1973, primary sector's share of employment is higher than secondary as well as in the tertiary. Again in 2000, the sharing of primary sector sharing in the employment was higher when we compare with secondary as well as the tertiary. Yes, in the recent data 1972 to 78 and 2017 to 18, the primary sector continued to be the largest employer even now. Yes, so that's what. Why didn't a similar shift out of similar sector and primary sector happen in case of employment? It is because not enough jobs were created in the secondary and tertiary sector. Even though industrial output or the production of goods went up by more than 9 times during the period, but employment in the industry went up by around 3 times. So what is the question they are arising it here? Why didn't similar shift out of primary sector happen in this case of employment? Because enough jobs were created in the secondary as well as in the tertiary sector. So they were not created enough job in secondary as well as in the tertiary sector. Even though industrial output or production of goods went up by more than 9 times during the period, but employment in industry went up around 3 times. The same applies to the tertiary sector as well. While production in the service sector rose by 14 times, but employment in the service sector rose by 5 times. Yes, so as a result, more than half of the workers in the country are working in a primary sector, mainly in the agriculture, producing only about 1/6 of GDP. So from the data, it's shown clearly that as a result, more than half of the workers in the country are working in the primary sector. Still now, their contribution in the GDP is 1/6. In contrast to this, secondary and tertiary sector produce the rest of the produce, whereas they employ less, about half of the population. Does this mean that the worker in the agriculture are not producing as much as they could? What it happens is that there are more people in agriculture than it's necessary. So even if we move out few people out, the production not be affected. In other words, workers in the agriculture sector are underemployed. So what does mean by underemployed is nothing but, see, if I will just give you an example. In a piece of land, 5 members is more than enough. But what happened? Because of unemployment problem, no other way, 8 members, they are working in it. If you move out 3 people out, the production will not affect. We'll be calling it as a underemployment. Yes, now, unemployment. When a person is willing to work at the prevailing wage rate but fails to get a job is called unemployment. Whatever may be the wage, they are willing to work, but what happened? They failed to get a job. We'll be calling it as a unemployment. Now, there are types of unemployment. The first one, seasonal unemployment. What is mean by seasonal unemployment? The unemployment which generates due to the variation in the season is called a seasonal unemployment. The seasonal unemployment mainly it suits for people those who are in the rural area. Seasonal fluctuation. During the busy season, they'll be very busy. They'll get income that is more than enough for their livelihood. But during dull season, they will not get enough jobs to work. Yes. Now, second, what is mean by disguised unemployment? When more people are working than required, it is called disguised unemployment. What I have just told you, isn't it? That is, 5 members is more than enough, but 8 members, they are working in it. If you move that people out, the production will not affect. We'll be calling it as a disguised unemployment. Third, when the economy failed to generate enough job, it is called structural unemployment. When the economy, they have failed to generate employments to the people, we'll be calling it as a structural unemployment. Next, the unemployment that is created because of depression. Because if during a depression in an economy, some kind of unemployment will occur. We'll be calling it as a cyclical unemployment. The last one, when unemployment happens because of transferring from one job to another, that period between the changing the job is called a frictional unemployment. These are the types of unemployment. Yes, now NREGA, that is, we'll be calling it as a Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Yes, National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, it was enacted in 2005. Yes, started by whom? Started by the central government. What is the third point? Made a law implementing right to work in 200 districts of India. Yes, and then all those who are in need of work will get guarantee 100 days work, and if the government fails to do so, it will give unemployment allowance to them. Sure, they have to give 100 days employments to the people in the rural area. If they fail to give, what they have to do it? They have to give unemployment allowance to them. At the last, the work will of the type which future helps to increase the production from land. Yes, so these types of work that would in future helps to increase the production from land will be given the preference under this act. Yes.